Greetings, everyone. This is Justice Good, and I appreciate you coming back to listen to another one of my Listen Up stories where I narrate a former story, one that I consider popular with the readers. And hopefully, I can highlight some new points in the story for those who've already read it, and then also to emphasize some new points for those who haven't read it already. So basically, I'm going to read or paraphrase what was in the original story. And if some other point comes to mind that wasn't brought out, then hopefully I can illuminate that a little bit further. So, anyway, the original story was called Tag Team Stories, my newest way to promote the stories I write. Do you use this strategy to get more eyes on your new stories? We writers on Medium spend a lot of time discussing and sharing ways to get more eyes on our previously published stories. And it's because the shelf life of what's considered to be a new story is really about 3 times shorter than that of a loaf of bread. Now, that's one reason why I'm constantly writing on the subject of finding ways to keep our old stories new. So, what about the new stories? What can you do to help get eyes on them while they're still new? That question popped into my mind and made me start reevaluating the different ways that I could use to link articles and promote certain stories. And my most recent method, at least my most recent method at the time that I wrote this story initially, was to have to add to my secret sauce. I'm sorry, let me restate that. My most recent method that I've been using and have decided to add to my secret sauce is the tag team theory. And allow me to elaborate. What is the smart way to help introduce new stories? I decided that the smart way to help introduce new stories is to use a tag team method. And that's something that wrestlers are known for doing. So, those out there who are wrestler fans, you already are familiar with it. Not only wrestlers, but I remember way back in the day when I followed roller derby. And roller derby, we used to gather together every Saturday night and watch roller derby. And that's also one of their methods that they did with among the team was the tag team method. So anyway, it's apparently it's an athletic thing, and it's basically what it says. It's uh, well, let me stick back to the script. Let me go back to it. It says basically what I'm talking about is not only self-explanatory, but I'm sure it's nothing new under the sun with other writers. The tag team method simply consists of writing 2 stories and then publishing them at the same time. Make sure that the stories are related and you can use each story to promote the other. It's really just as simple as it sounds. The only small difference from this being the same method as writing a bunch of stories in a series is the fact that both stories are released simultaneously. Okay, so let me say that again. The difference in the tag team theory versus uh, the series method, where as in a series you're going to write 5, 6, maybe more stories, all within the same theme, and they're not going to be released at the same time. Okay, but with tag team stories, both stories will be released on the same day, if not at the same exact time, maybe within a few minutes of one another, but definitely the same day. So, usually, when you write and cover stories with the same theme or topic, they're published on different days and sometimes even weeks apart. But the point of using this tag team strategy is to help get eyes on both stories, unlike when you use a short form story as basically just a promo for the main story. And getting away from the original script, the original story, this promo method is what's used in the Just Like New publication that I run, where basically all you're doing is writing little 1 to 3 minute short stories to emphasize usually a longer story, but sometimes a story of equal length, 3 minutes, but it's an older story, or not necessarily an older story, a previously published story, and at least a day older, usually a week, maybe more, but definitely a story that was previously published. And so, in a promo story or just like news story, you're going to draw attention to that story. And that's the main objective of that promo story, is to draw attention to that initial story. This here again is different from the tag team method. In the tag team method, you're hoping to get eyes on both stories, and the emphasis is on both stories, but you use each story to benefit the other. So, and I say, for example, the main topic of the story you're currently reading is about the use of my so called tag team method and the benefit of using it. But as you'll see from the latter part, at the end of this story, I also created a second story to act as a counterpart to this one. And I did this so that I could demonstrate my tag team example. So if you decide to create a new story, then go ahead, write it, but make sure you write another related story to publish at the same time. And once you're done with the first story, before you end it, be sure to tag in the other story that's also published ready. So here's how to tag your other story in when you're ready. And here again, I use the expression tag in because back to the athletic use of the word, in roller derby or in wrestling, when you tag your partner in, that means you're gonna you're going to take a break. You're going to let them come in, and you guys are going to swap positions, and the other player is going to sit it out while the story that you tagged in is going. Well, the partner that you tagged in is going to carry the weight for the team. So the same thing with these stories. So here's how to tag your other story in when you're ready. I had a busy January this year, and I realized that some of you may have missed out on all the cool subjects that I wrote about. So it might be difficult to keep up since I publish every day and sometimes more than once a day. So that's why I wrote a story and I shared a very special list that I created. And the list contains nothing but stories that I published exclusively this past January. So bring you up to speed here again because I know I stray away when I ad lib from the original story. So basically, what I just said was I wrote a story as a counterpart to my tag team story. And in this story, it's basically just a list of previously published titles for the month of January. Are you curious about what I labeled the list and about what kind of stories it contains? I tell you all about it in the story that I wrote. Let me just say that among the 65 titles the list contains, there are lots of stories that the community really seem to enjoy. Would you like to know more? Then be ready to give the following story a read. What can help you evaluate your monthly writing progress? Once again, the title of the story, What Can Help You Evaluate Your Monthly Writing Progress? And that's the title of the counterpart to this story, the tag team story. So now we get to my final thoughts of the story. And in it, I say, as we all know, there's nothing new under the sun. So I doubt that this method of pairing stories to be published is not novel, but it is useful. I've used it before without thinking or putting any concentrated effort on how I do it. But now I plan to use the strategy with a lot more thought. You see, here again, like I said, some things that I do when I write, I do subconsciously because it makes sense, but I don't really give thought to it and think about how strategic it really is. But with these tag team stories, at this time when I wrote this initial story, I was just getting into the whole idea of doing this on a more regular and concentrated basis. So, like I said in the final paragraph, I suggest giving it a try. Not only will you probably see an improvement in your story views, but this is another great way to become a more productive and prolific writer on Medium. So, once again, let's sum up what I just read. Um, the tag team method here again basically consists of writing two stories, and sometimes You don't have to give a lot of emphasis on one story. You can give more emphasis on one story than the other, but they do need to be connected. They do need to be joined in a way that they complement one another so that if someone reads one, they will definitely want to read the other story. And that's the main objective. And then to remember to, of course, tag the story, put the link in the story, and draw attention to the story at least no less than 3 times. So readers will remember that not only are they getting the story that you're reading with all the good information that it contains, but they also have something else that they want to connect to and get maybe further information or information on a similar topic, but along that same vein. Okay, so that's the extent of it. Thanks for listening. And once again, if you have more questions concerning the tag team system, just read Tag Team Stories, my newest way to promote the stories I write, and the link is on the page. Thank you.